Hey, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain, and I'm coming to you from my very hot, sweaty, and mostly dirty workshop. It's mid-December, and it's been 100+ degrees here in Brisbane all week, which means it must be time for a Star Wars movie to come out. Yes, today, it's come out. Anyway, this isn't about Star Wars, this is about diaries for next year. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make something that looks vaguely like this one, using cardboard, tissue paper, bit of paint and some glue. Now if you've got access to polymer clay, it would be so much easier just to put a covering of polymer clay on your diary and carve it. It really would be. But this has turned out okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it. But just know that this is a fiddly process. To start with, you need a diary. This is going to be my workshop diary for 2020, but this looks pretty boring, and I mean, it's in this place where all the craziness happens. So I'm going to dress it up a bit. So the first step is to obtain some thin cardboard. Out of a box is not a bad thing, just thin corrugated stuff. And then draw a design on it. Make sure it's the same size as your diary. And if you do an archway, please number it, because otherwise when you cut it up and go to stick it down, you spend more time trying to work out where the blocks go than anything else. So the next step is I'm going to cut this up, probably using my knife and a pair of scissors. And once I've cut it up, I'll be painting the cover of the diary, and you'll notice that it's a textured cover. It's not one of those shiny ones, so hopefully the glue will stick. Painting this with non-watered down PVA glue, and then sticking the cardboard bits to it. Once I've done that, I'll show you. Okay, now that I've got the book to this stage, and when you are gluing your cardboard down, make sure you leave lots of gaps between it. You'll need to cut some of the bricks down. And that, we're now going to do the difficult part. As I said, if you've got polymer clay, use the clay, it's so much easier. Okay, so with the PVA glue, we're going to paint it over the top. And because it's so hot out here, I'm going to add a little bit of water to my glue so it will actually stick stuff down before it goes dry. Okay. Now that you've got some glue on there, grab some nice thin tissues. Don't get the really good expensive thick stuff. Just thin tissues are better. Yeah. Put them on, and you glue them down so all the cracks are showing. Now this process is going to take you a while. Don't get greedy and use whole tissues. Just use parts at a time, because otherwise they won't bend the right way. So I'm going to spend probably half an hour or so gluing these down, and then I'm going to show you the effect. Okay, once you have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 layers of tissue paper glued down to your book and it's dried, trim up any loose bits around the side, and then give it a nice heavy black paint job. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back to you. The video that inspired me to do this one was just a set of hands doing this in high speed with some music over it from Russia, and she made it look so easy. Now one thing, when you are doing the paper gluing on, make sure that all of the cracks between the bricks and any other details are pressed in. Either use a matchstick or the end of a paintbrush or whatever, but make sure that they're all well defined, because otherwise you will have no detail. Okay, I'm going to trim this up and give it a quick coat of black paint. Okay, so my book has now gone from white to black, and you're going to make sure that you get all the cracks filled in with the black paint, because the next step after this is to dry brush all the surface details, which means you're going to leave the black in the cracks. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. If you get to this stage and you don't hate me and you haven't sworn at the book a lot and thrown it out, You can also do the spine and the back cover. I'm not going to for this video, but maybe for later. Yeah, so now for some painting, and hopefully I'll have a halfway decent diary to show to you at the end of this video. So these are my two diaries finished. The one on the left is my workshop diary, in which I'll record all of my commissions for this year, plus what I spend in the hardware shop, and also everyone that comes to visit me in the workshop and has something to do. And the one on the right is going to be my personal diary. Now I've decorated them with doors because I think the diaries are my doorway into 2020. But you could decorate them any way you like. There is really no limit to what you could put on these books. I mean, as long as you don't make them too thick or spiky, they're fine to sit against other things in bookcases and filing cabinets. And they're quite rugged once they're fully dry. Everything holds together, and worst case, if they do peel off a bit, you could always just glue the whole thing back on because it'll come off in a single piece. Anyway, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain saying, if you have polymer clay, use it. It'd be so much easier. But if you don't, you can get an okay looking effect just with cardboard and tissue paper. I'm going to link the Russian video to the end of this. She also used spack filler and all sorts of other stuff. But for a rough and ready workbook like I want, I think it's going to be okay. So anyway, this is Wolf from Armoury-Terrain saying go out and make something.